I've been in the area of constitutional law for almost 40 years now, studying the trends, where we're headed in this country. It's my opinion that we're entering the final phases of governmental authoritarianism. And where you can really see it is the police, how the police used to be basically a civilian force to serve the people, to protect us against dangerous criminals. Now the police have taken on very strong military implications and a military look. And the way police prepare for protests in this country shows that now the American people, those who want to get out in the streets and really express themselves, have become the enemy. Preparations are now underway for what promises to be a summer of protest. With the Occupy movement still active and the recent conclusion of the NATO and G8 summits and the Democratic and Republican national conventions coming up later this year, protesters are gearing up to take on the so-called establishment. In response, governmental agencies in conjunction with the militarized police are doing everything in their power to head off the protests, refusing to issue protest permits, sectioning off city blocks around so-called important event sites, and passing a litany of laws banning everything from people wearing masks to carrying strings. And if, after all that, any protesters still manage to get into the streets, they'll be faced with an array of weapons meant to incapacitate them. In this way, government officials and police agencies are clamping down on basic constitutional rights such as the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, and the freedom of assembly. What we've seen is a rapid advance of technology. What protesters are going to be facing in the future are tasers, sound cannons, lasers, drones flying overhead, anything to stop them from speaking out and pushing them away from the areas where our so-called leaders are, so that our leaders, or the people that represent us, the people that we vote for, cannot hear what we have to say to them. The manner in which police are responding to protesters now reminds me of what happened to Martin Luther King and the people who marched through Birmingham and other cities in the South, where they were fire hosed, dogs were sicked on them. Now the technology is so much more invasive with, as I said, drones shooting rubber bullets, tasers, and all the things that I'm going to talk about. Since the 1980s, believe it or not, our Department of Defense has been giving police agencies throughout the country advanced weaponry, such as assault vehicles. When you see pictures of SWAT teams, folks, that's coming out of our federal government. In other words, our federal government, the military, the Department of Defense, is equipping our local policemen to be the military. What is troublesome is the advances in crowd control technology in recent years are very, very astounding. For example, Intelligent Optics Systems has developed the LED incapacitator. It's a handheld flashlight-like device that uses light-emitting diodes to emit super bright pulses of light at rapidly changing wavelengths, causing disorientation, nausea, and even vomiting in whomever it's pointed at. The Raytheon Corporation has developed the active denial system, or the pain ray, which shoots an electromagnetic beam composed of high-frequency radio waves, causing a burning sensation on the target's skin. This system has been tested on over 11,000 people and has resulted in 6 documented cases of rashes and blisters and 2 more of more serious second-degree burns. Sound cannons, or long-range acoustic device systems, are used by both military and the police to emit high-pitched tones of 150 decibels. To put this in perspective, the nominal figure for the auditory pain threshold is 130 decibels, and the threshold for hearing damage is 90 decibels for an extended period of time. The obvious concern is that sound cannons may produce sound loud enough to damage eardrums and cause fatal aneurysms. Weapons of compliance have become the daily tools for police forces, and among those tools, tasers are increasingly a policeman's best friend. They have become the go-to weapons of compliance, used in situations when a cop doesn't like someone's attitude or an individual refuses to comply with an unlawful order. The future looks like this, where once someone could stand on a street corner and express themselves. In fact, the Supreme Court has guaranteed these rights. The Constitution guarantees these rights. The First Amendment says very clearly we have a right to peacefully assemble and petition our government for a redress of grievances. That means that they have to be within earshot of listening and hearing what we have to say, or it means nothing. But what we're seeing in the future looks like this, is that now the police are going to section off entire cities, and they're going to make sure no one, if at all, they can stop people from exercising their rights. They're going to conduct raids on apartments and houses prior to massive protests. They're going to clamp down. And what this means is, in the end, because the police have all the gadgets, all the technology, all the guns, they have the assault vehicles. The average American citizen has none of this. We are helpless, folks. What this means is the First Amendment, it looks like it's going to be extinguished unless those people we call our representatives actually do something to protect us.